Welcome back to the Red Wings Report with Strings and Pucks. This is Jeremy Laura, and it's time for your 7-minute wings. Make sure you head over to hockeyhotstove.com to see my newest write-up. Check out the other teams, subscribe for email updates, and thank you to everybody who's headed over there. Detroit gets back after their first major road trip. They are 9-5-0 to start the season, 18 points. It's good enough for second in the Atlantic Division, behind Montreal, who's only had 3 regulation losses with their start of 9-3-2 for 20 points. As good as this start is, so early in the season, there's really only 6 points separating the top team from the bottom. So Detroit has a lot of work to do to establish their game because other parts of the Atlantic are starting to warm up. The Maple Leafs are coming on. The Panthers are having a lot of trouble, but it's hard to think they won't bounce back significantly. Detroit has laid a solid foundation in the first 14 games, and for the biggest piece of that is obviously the penalty kill. Tom McClellan is crediting goaltending quite a bit with that change, but honestly, you're seeing a lot more attack from the defenders, and the diamond formation seems to fit them incredibly well, where guys aren't out of position so much as they have been for the past several seasons. So it's good to see, but again, it's so early in the season, it's so close. The team needs to make sure that they're solidified and going forward, because it's just going to get harder. I think Emmett Finney's starting to see what it's like as teams have clearly scouted him and they're ready for him on the ice. So he's been a little bit quieter recently. But some good news for the team as Patrick Kane looks like he's back. He skated with the team in practice. It looks like he's feeling good. He's only played 5 games this year where he had 2 goals and 3 assists. So he's still a point per game player. Even though that's early in the season. But what Kane brings and what they'll miss, one day when they just don't have him around, he brings so much stability when he's on the ice. He communicates, he brings an intensity, and I think Marco Kasper is really missing out on what Kane brings to his game in particular. Kasper's been struggling to make it onto the board. Even though he's playing well all over the ice, Kasper's just not in the same place he was at the end of last season. I've talked a lot about this, but Kasper's game took off after the coaching change. He scored 19 goals last year. 17 of those goals came after the Christmas break when they switched coaches from Lalonde to McClellan. At the time, I'd credited that with them using him differently. He had kind of been all over the lineup, but he had consistent top 6 minutes, ends up as the center of that second line. It felt like he had locked in. So this may be a player who has a slow start, and hopefully getting Kane back on the ice is going to help. If Detroit can get that second line to click the way it was for the last, let's say, 20 to 30 games last season, and the top line stays consistent where they're at, and that'll be difficult because right now the top line's producing 3 points a game with Larkin. But if that Kasper line can get together with Kane and replicate what they had going last season, you would have a top 6 that's a legitimate problem for every team they're going to face night in and night out. And it's been a very long time since you said that about Detroit. In fact, this would be the first time in the rebuild when you've actually had a top 6. That may sound a little bit harsh, but so many times, even at the end of last year when the team was clicking, I said, and many people said, you really only have five players and then a rotating 6th. And at that time, it was Elmer Soderblom on Larkin's wing. Well, Larkin's line is solid right now. Even though Finney's been a little bit quieter, he's still skating really well with that line with Raymond and Larkin, and they don't have to wonder game in and game out who's going to be in that position. They've had time to develop chemistry. They've had time to develop their game. So Kane coming back could be a massive upgrade for Detroit if that second line can solidify and you're rolling out a top six where the defense on the other team, they have to pick and choose who they dispatch when. Because for too long in the rebuild and under Yzerman in particular, Larkin's really been the only center they've had to focus on with their top players. When Larkin gets freed up, when he gets a little time and space, he's been dangerous. And this year, to be honest, he's been dangerous even when they're going after him hard. Getting Patrick Kane back is a lot more than just getting a player off of IR. This is a chance to solidify your top six so that you actually have a top six that's going to compete. This team has to take another step forward so that the next 14 or 15 games can see success like they've seen in this early stretch. Because again, teams are going to be waiting. They know what to expect from Finney now. Detroit's power play is still struggling to get looks consistently. That's been scouted well. The penalty kill, they have to keep clicking along. There are going to be bad nights. And the team defense, they have to start games on time. We saw 2 good starts in the last. So hopefully the team, with a couple of rare days off, are ready to go. And getting Patrick Kane back could be a huge boost, especially for that second line. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for tuning in. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking a little bit about some trade rumors that are going around and what Detroit may actually be able to do this season and reasons why there's a big difference on what they have to deal with right now as what they've had to deal with in the past.